everyone, it's Shadow the Rat, and in today's video I thought that I would show you how exactly I go about giving my rats to eat outside the cage. So I know several people have asked me about this, and the biggest thing that has worked for me is basically teaching the rats to always eat off my hands. So here you can see I have a meat baby food, and this is just to really entice them to eat on my hands, and the goal here is just to get them to eat on your lap outside the cage. Because once they eat on your lap outside the cage, you can basically transfer that to anywhere. Anyway, if your rats have not learned to eat a liquid treat before, then I highly recommend you first put it on a spoon, because some rats will first bite the liquid treats just because they don't know that it is a liquid treat and that they can't go about eating it like everything else. So the best way to train them to just lick up the treat is to give them it on something metal, because rats really hate biting metal things, and if they learn how to lick off the metal spoon, then they will transfer that behavior to your fingers. Okay, so first I'll open the cage, and what really helps is if you have some sort of shelving like this. You can see Cookie here would be the example. I'm feeding her some meat baby food, and you might want to get her used to, being pet and stuff like that. And some people will now try to get the rat to climb onto their hand. The thing with Cookie here is she really doesn't like climbing onto hands and stuff like that, so I can try luring her on, but she's not going to like it very much, even though she is a big fan of this stuff. So here you go, now she's climbing on my hand, and this would be ideal, but most of the time you're going to have to do this in the cage proper, so that would be like in here where you're going to be feeding them, just because your rats might be a little too scared to eat on the outside of the cage like Cookie was doing there. And now we have Cookie in our hand, and let's say I wanted to feed her outside the cage. Now I can begin, let's say, offering her food right outside the cage on my hand, because she has gotten used to doing it inside the cage itself. So the other rats really want to turn here, and I'm going to be using something else now. In this case, I'm going to be using a banana, and bananas are Barry's favorite food. Latte. Okay, one second. They're a little crazy right now because it's near playtime, but you can see Barry here is going a little crazy for this banana. So what I'd do is I'd offer her the treat, and then I'd hold her in my hands, and you don't want to offer something this big, because you can see all Barry wants to do is go stash it in her cage and eat it as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the banana in my fingers to make it necessary for her to eat it with me. And a good thing about having so many rats like I do here is that you have a variety of temperaments, so they're going to edge each other on. You can see they're all really tame, and they're all very happy to eat the treats out of my hands on my lap, which is exactly what we want. And since this is very soft food, then we're not going to have any issues of them feeling, scared because they have to chew it and look down. And let's catch Cream here. So you see Cream really likes it too. And Latte wants a little bit. Okay. There you go. Okay, so now what we would do is you'd begin to lure your rat onto your hand with something solid. I'm using a Cheerio here, and just give small bits of it. I'm breaking it up as Cream eats it, and you can see that she's very much enjoying it. She's sitting in my hand, and this is the ideal situation. Now I'm going to move Cream down, and she's trying to go in my jacket here, so this is something else that you can allow. If your rat is trying to go into your jacket, like Cream here was doing, you can actually let them go right into it, and then when they poke their little nose out, like you see here, you can give them the treat and allow them to eat it inside your jacket. So basically, just practice having your rat eat inside the cage on your hand, then outside the cage on, let's say, your lap or on your hand. If you have a side thing like this, it's a good idea to feed some treats like that. And in general, you just want your rats to get used to eating with you instead of just inside the cage. So in a minute here, I'm going to transfer to a clip of me feeding the rats in the free range area, and we're basically going to repeat the same steps, except in this case, our rats will already be used to eating on top of our lap, so it will go much faster. Hey guys, as you can see, I have just moved to the free range area, and you can see that the rats are darting around. In fact, everyone is basically over there, so I can't exactly show you what I want right now, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you that you should let your rats explore the area some before you try to feed them food. Because in many cases, rats will prioritize something like safety over eating just because, they are naturally more prey disposed in behavior than other creatures. So whenever your rats come over to you, you want to just offer them, a treat or few, just to enforce the idea of the free range area being a good place, and that being near you is a good place too. I suggest going back to a liquid treat when you first start out in the open, because you want your rat to associate the playpen area with something very good, and meat baby food or another liquid treat is just so much easier for them to eat than something that's, let's say, solid. And with your rats, you're probably going to find that being on your lap is one of the areas they feel safest. Cream here is pretty used to the area, but even so, she likes to sit on my lap while eating, and you can see this is a very comfortable position for her, and this is where I'd recommend you start feeding your rats. So first, you don't want to make them do anything. You just offer food to them until they are accepting it readily off your finger, and they very much seem to be enjoying themselves, like Cream here. We got a devil. Look at her. The cookie is eating from the jar. No, it's mine. Now, at this point, you have a few options because your rat is accepting liquid treats outside the cage. You can try to use a liquid treat like meat baby food to train them. They're simple tricks, and actually this is probably the route I would recommend just because rats tend to be very motivated by meat baby food, and you'll find that luring them around with it is really easy. Otherwise, you can attempt to start getting them to eat solid treats outside the cage. Here I'm holding a Cheerio and just breaking it into small little pieces so that when Cream here is eating it, she's gnawing it from between my fingers. She's getting just little small particles of it so she doesn't feel the need to run away with it. So it's a good idea to just use small broken up treats like this. Okay, and once your rat is readily accepting solid treats, or again, like I said, meat baby food, you can begin training them simple things like here, we're going to train to spin. And if it was meat baby food, you could let them eat it as they go around. And then finally, fade out the lure until you can just put your hand up. Let's see if Berry, there we go. Good girl. And no, you do not necessarily need to use a clicker at first. In fact, I would recommend against it just because a clicker can be very loud and scary to some rats at first. So if they know some tricks like spin, they will internalize the meaning of the clicker faster and most likely not be as scared of it. So that's really all I have for you. Just be sure to feed your rats lots in the playpen area, let them get accustomed and run around and just do whatever they want. You see, like Latte, Berry, all my rats are very obviously used to this area, but in a new area you're going to see a lot more skittish behavior and you might have to wait a lot longer than I did. So I hope this was helpful to anyone who was having some issues feeding their rats in their free range area, and I will see you next time. Bye!